Hello, everybody, and welcome to our daily check in. It is Monday, and I just feel like this week is going to be a great week. This weekend was awesome. We got to go for a walk in the woods, and my kids had the opportunity to run through the sprinkler, which reminds me of like when I was a kid, and they were having a catch, which is something I absolutely miss. Not even sure I could throw a ball anymore. I feel like I'm the slightest thing, I'm like, oh, my shoulder. But either way, having them outside playing was really nice to see. So there's a few things connected to that that I want to talk about in today's video. So the first one is, even though, we're in a situation where we're kind of stuck at home, we're not 100% stuck at home. So you can do things, maybe ride your bike, or like I said, whether you might have a pool, go swimming in a pool, run through a sprinkler, or maybe you might have a fire pit of some kind. So maybe you can like make s'mores or just kind of hang out with your family, because you have to kind of live in the moment and really take that moment and not think about all the bad things. So I was in the house over the weekend cleaning, which is not abnormal, but I was cleaning and I could see out the front and I saw my kids playing, and they were both like just cracking up. And I knew at that moment they weren't sitting there thinking about, the coronavirus or being in quarantine or not seeing their friends. They were just having a good time and enjoying themselves. And that made me happy because I know there's times during the day where they're bored or they're just not having a good time. So when those moments come and you can just laugh really hard and hang out with your family, or your siblings or whatever it is, really enjoy that moment, which had me thinking. So my daughters occasionally like to play with these. This is just a walkie-talkie, right? And so here's a question I am just curious for you guys. Imagine that, with the walkie-talkie, if you talked into it, anybody you want would be on the other end, responding to you. And the question is, who would it be? Now, when I was a kid, if I was asked that question, right, I might say somebody, famous, maybe a famous athlete or an actor or an actress, or maybe a famous musician. Maybe it would be like somebody from the Beatles or somebody from Led Zeppelin or The Who or, the Rolling Stones. It could be maybe, athletes like maybe Don Mattingly, who I really liked growing up. So, because when you're really young and you have an opportunity to talk to somebody, a lot of times you think of maybe somebody famous or um, somebody historical, possibly. Now, if you were to ask me that now, if I could talk to anybody at the other end of this walkie-talkie, who would it be? And without question, it would be my mother, because my mother's no longer around. And the reason why I say that is because, when I was a kid, if we were having family dinners or we were doing certain family activities, I will be very honest when I said, oh, I was kind of a pain about it. I would go in the other room, I would avoid it. I wasn't really into doing family things, but now that I have a family, obviously I think very differently. And the reason why I say that is famous people, whether they're athletes or actors or whatever, authors, they're just people like everyone else. But the people that you really should be taking the time to talk with and learn about is your family, right? So, my grandparents were very, old, and half of them were not really around pretty much before I was born. So there's a lot of stories in history that I just don't know. But having those conversations with people, because like I said in a previous video, you don't really miss things until you no longer have them. Just like I miss, bringing my kids to dance class. I used to not like it at all. But now that I can't do it, now I miss it. So I want you to think about, who maybe you haven't reached out to yet that you might be able to reach out to. And I just think it's important that we constantly try to stay in communication with people and have those fun conversations. Now, I realize that many of you, obviously, you might need help from your parents when you're doing your schoolwork. And if it's anything like here, when you're doing schoolwork with your kids or you with your parents, it's not uncommon that things sometimes get a little tense, right? because your parents might try to explain something one way and you were like it can't be done that way, or vice versa, and it just maybe some arguing. And I don't mean like I just kind of mean like frustration. So having those conversations, like if you say, well, we talk, but it's usually about schoolwork, that's not really the conversations that I'm talking about, because um, sometimes those conversations can get a little, you know, heated because everyone's just on edge because it's just, schoolwork or whatever, or even their jobs. It's the time when you're not doing schoolwork or they're not working that you can have some fun conversations, because these are the times that you can really learn a lot about your family. These are also the times you can just have some nice, friendly conversations. So, on that note, though, when you're thinking about, talking with family or talking with friends, um, this is kind of off topic, but I feel like I saw this over the weekend and I just wanted to kind of just talk about it. Just kind of maybe it's my little vent. I don't know. I was watching a video where people were doing things just to cheer other people up. Now, this isn't me. This is just like totally separate people. So they were doing these things to cheer people up, and people were commenting on what they were doing, and like being very, really negative about it. You know, there's an expression sometimes that they say, no good deed goes unpunished. You do something nice for somebody, and somehow it always comes back to bite you. Now, I want you to know that it might happen sometimes, but it should never stop you from being kind. It should never stop you from um, saying nice things to people, right? Dr. Copeland always says, you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. Now, that's pretty much an old kind of like thing that's been going around forever. But I want you to know that when you're doing the right thing for your family, right, and you're doing the right thing for your friends, there might be some people that, are haters, that you would say, and say not nice things, but you can't focus on those. You focus on the people who matter in your life, your friends, your family, assuming that they're the ones who clearly care about you, right? And the reason why I guess I'm going off on this tangent is that during this time that we are home, right? People are trying to do things to cheer other people up, whether you're sending messages to your friends or sending messages to your family or doing silly things. I know some of my students, they said over the weekend they were doing TikTok videos. Now, I'm not saying TikTok is really good for you guys, because probably isn't, but if dancing and having a good time is going to help you feel better, don't let anybody, slam any negativity on you, okay? And if you coincidentally happen to see any of your parents doing some crazy stuff on TikTok, whether they're dancing or just having a good time, you know, let them have their time, because I think everybody is just trying to do what they can to keep their mind in a positive way. So I know this is kind of like all over the place, and it could be because it's Monday. I got Monday brain. I don't know. But basically, what I wanted to get across to you guys today is that, having conversations with the people around you, those are going to be the memorable ones. And, always make sure you say nice things to people. Um, and just think about the fact that, like, I know somebody's birthday is today, and for that individual, happy birthday. But know that it's okay, to be a kid, act like a kid, be silly, because you're a kid once. So, and now more than ever, you get to do things around the house and act all crazy as a kid. And, I know sometimes there are people who like to hang out with their family, and they get peer pressure from their friends to hang out or do certain things. They don't really want to. So here's your excuse. Now you can say you're stuck home, so do things and enjoy being a kid. Play games, color, draw, do whatever you want as far as appropriate, obviously, but enjoy being a kid. This weekend, my daughters, as soon as I finished cleaning the living room, or family room, I should say, they asked if they could put a tent up. Now, I wasn't about to put a tent outside because that's just not my thing. Camping outside is really not for me. However, I did set the tent up for them in the family room, and they spent the last 2 nights sleeping in a tent and having a good time. Now, although my family room is a mess now, um, I didn't want to take away their opportunity to act like a kid. Having a little camp out in the family room is always something that maybe they'll remember, hopefully. So, on that note, have a wonderful week, and just make sure you take every day like it's a good day. Wake up positive, start fresh every morning. Like I always say, tell your family you love them, give them hugs, reach out to people, just check in, see how they're doing. Contact your friends, and like I said, if you ever need to chat, you could always send me a message. But just know that I'm thinking about you always. And until our next check-in, peace out and have a wonderful day.